And our second main topic today gets sent in to us by John Knollbacher, who writes, so apparently, not surprisingly, quote unquote, reports of a director's cut of The Rise of Skywalker have been surfacing. To me, this is yet another example of a broken news system. What are your thoughts? All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in, John. And yeah, there have been a lot of people talking about this. You guys have probably been seeing running around all over the internet right now that there's a whole bunch of stuff about, did you hear about the JJ cut? There's a JJ cut and everybody's demanding the JJ cut and all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh God, where does this come from? Okay, first of all, let's be clear about where this comes from. Every story you see about a JJ cut of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, every single one that you see, it all comes from the same place. They all reference from the exact same place. An anonymous, unverified Reddit post posted in a Reddit channel that is dedicated to the hatred of the new Star Wars movies. Let me reemphasize that. All these reports are coming from the one same place. An anonymous post by an unverified user posted in a subreddit that is dedicated to the hatred of the new Star Wars movies. That's where this is all coming from. Now, I just want to highlight that what that means is a 12-year-old child who lives next door to you could have hopped on Reddit and wrote that himself and just threw it up there. Because you have no way of knowing. Just so you know, I might have written that post, and you would know.
Did you?
Anonymous, maybe. An anonymous, unverified user jumped onto a subreddit that is pretty much dedicated to the hatred of the new Star Wars films and wrote all this stuff about a JJ cut. There's a couple things to talk about here. Number one, why... bias confirmation is a big thing, Rob. You know, bias confirmation. Basically, people will believe something regardless of the real actual validity of it if it's something that affirms their pre-existing bias and belief. So somebody who really wants to love The Rise of Skywalker, if they see some kind of report, even if it's a report that clearly has not a lot of basis in fact or whatever, but it's a report, even if no basis in fact, that really highlights the greatness of Rise of Skywalker, they are predisposed to believing it. They'll want to believe it and they'll try to believe it. The same as opposite. People who wanted to hate something, they'll believe whatever rumor or whatever comes at it, and that's fine. So basically what we're dealing with here, Rob, is this is all coming from the notion that what was posted in this Reddit, and I'm just giving the Coles Notes, the highlights here, is that apparently there was a slightly longer cut of the movie, that there was a scene where John Boyega actually used the Force to open a door, that apparently there was an additional scene showing Kylo Ren kind of struggling a little bit with, do I want to be a good guy? Do I want to be a bad guy? Just little things like that. The first thing that pops into my mind is every fucking movie ever made has a ton of unused footage. Every movie ever made, except for the lowest of the low budget where you can't waste a single frame, but just about every single movie you have ever paid money for to go into a movie theater to watch has footage left on the cutting room floor. It had a 4-hour runtime, then a 3-hour runtime, then they got it down to a 2.5-hour runtime, then they got it down to 2. That is like 90% of all movies in Hollywood. So somebody coming out and saying, there was cut footage from the Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, and there was actually a longer runtime. Of course, that's every fucking movie. That's every fucking movie. Of course there was. Yes, there was. This is not a news flash. That is almost every movie you can talk about, Rob. That is the case. So somebody coming out somewhere on Reddit saying, did you know there was some deleted footage that they didn't use? Yeah? Did you know that they use lights on this movie? Yeah, I assume they use lights at some point on the movie. So, so look, and I want to point out here that this could be true. It could not be true. I'm not sitting here to make a statement of the validity of what's being claimed, that there was extra footage. I just assumed there was extra footage. That there was at one point a longer cut of the movie. I just assumed there was at one point a longer cut of a movie, just like there are for 90% of the movies out there. So this could be true. It could not be true, but that almost becomes irrelevant because it doesn't matter. Guess what? Showing a scene of Finn opening a door at the Force doesn't change the Rise of Skywalker. I already feel like the Rise of Skywalker heavily implied that Finn was discovering he was a little bit Force sensitive. I believe the movie already did a good enough job showing that to us. It was clearly implied already. Showing Finn opening a door wouldn't have made one squirt of piss a difference. Having Kylo go, "Oh, do I like Rey?" in some scene, it wouldn't have made a difference to the movie. It might have been a nice scene, but it wouldn't have changed the fundamentals of the movie anyway. So, I don't know. Number one, it's just funny seeing everybody will rally around something that they want to believe. But number two, it's an irrelevant piece of information because it doesn't matter. Every movie has cut footage. Every movie had longer running times at one point. And these little scenes that people are talking about don't fundamentally change the movie. It still is what it is. And ultimately, we can talk about this, but listen, the movies that come out in theaters are the cut. Leave it alone. You can cry and scream and whine for the director's cut of every single movie out there. I've done it, so I'm sure you've done it too. So we can all whine and cry and scream and bitch and moan just like I have before about all this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. The movie that came out is the movie. Let it go. Of course, there was extra footage. Of course. Anyway, Rob, you having made your own feature films and worked on several major feature films, how do you respond to all this?
Well, what you said's essentially correct. I mean, what I found interesting about this report, and again, it's always a game of telephone, but let's just say this report had some validity. What I found interesting is about the battles that J.J. Abrams might have been fighting with the studio. Disney, of course, had a lot riding on this movie. And of course, as we know, once the Star Wars saga passed out of the hands of George Lucas and into the hands of Disney, Disney is servicing a global entertainment empire with these movies, so to speak. They are a global entertainment empire. So ultimately, it's Disney's whatever they need to happen with these Star Wars movies is going to trump all other concerns, especially ones of artistic integrity, because Disney owns the franchise now and they need to do what they think is best. And I think that it's never great when corporations are dictating storytelling points because that runs contrary to what storytelling is. You can't make a great story based on what they believe demographics want. You can't do that. And stories have to be true to themselves. But like you pointed out, this is a film. There are many creative battles fought in the movie editing room. There is running time issues. If this was a 3-hour movie, there's a huge economic impact to the bottom line of this film that was probably unacceptable to Disney. So look, you could release a 4-hour cut of just about any movie. But as you pointed out, John, a movie has to be edited. It has to be shaped. It has to be a carefully curated, scene by scene, cut by cut, to make sure it's the best movie possible. And at the same time, when you are working for Disney and they are saying you have to bring the movie in at under, say, 2 hours and 30 minutes, it can't be an Endgame length film, you have to abide by that. That's just the reality. And so, like you pointed out, every single movie you have ever seen in your life has scenes that you've never seen. Scenes with characters you love that you will never see. But for the most part, look, The Abyss just dropped on HBO. I want the director's cut. I love the extended version of The Abyss. It's not on Blu-ray yet. Why not? I want to see those giant tidal waves. I can't, John. I can't. And that was even released, and it's not out. That's just the reality. That said, I'd watch a 3-hour cut of Rise of Skywalker. Why not release an extended version if there is one?
I've seen enough. I've seen enough of the Rise of Skywalker. I don't need to see any more of it. But that being said,
deleted scenes on Disney Plus.
And I understand a lot of people love the movie, and that's great. I celebrate that. But here's the most ridiculous thing that I heard come out of this, Rob. There's this ridiculous thing now ramping its way through saying Disney purposefully sabotaged the movie because they wanted to make JJ look bad because JJ just signed a development deal with Warner Brothers. And I'm like, you have got to be a special kind of dumb. you've got to be a special kind of dumb to believe that Disney, number one, the most big, powerful, rich studio in the world, cares about that. But number two, you got to be really, really specially dumb to believe that they're going to undermine their own finances just to do something spiteful to a creative director doing what thousands of other directors have done. Really?
Yeah.
Disney's going to hurt their own financial future just to do something like that out of spite? If that was anywhere remotely, if they were really butthurt about it, they just would have said, JJ, we can't have you on this film anymore. That's all they would have done. And then they would have put out a press release saying J.J. Abrams and us have parted ways over creative differences. And then they would have installed a new director. So there could be things true about these reports. There could be things false about these reports. But that whole thing about Disney purposefully sabotaged the movie just to hurt J.J. Abrams is an idiocy it's a flat earth level idiocy. That I don't know. Do you think is there any argument to be made there, Rob, though? Maybe I'm missing something. Is there any argument to be made there that there could be validity to that?
I don't think so. Because like you said, what was the issue at hand is a movie that they need to put out into the marketplace and make the most money with a global audience as possible. And that's what they were looking to do. And the idea that Disney would sabotage their own movie long after J.J. Abrams goes over to Warner Brothers under his new deal for $500 million. Disney will be monetizing the Rise of Skywalker and all the ships and all the characters and all the situations for decades to come. So they want that to be the best version of the Rise of Skywalker possible. And everybody who's working on these things wants them to be great. I mean, the problem is not everybody understands. At the end of the day, with things with this much money at stake, you have the company chairman and people stepping in who are not filmmakers themselves, but they're making creative decisions. And this happens all the time. And I don't think it ever turns out well.
All right. The question here is, guys, what do you think about all this? You're seeing all this unfolding again. Maybe you're kind of like, why are we even talking about this? Maybe you think this is a big, important issue. Tell me your point of view on this. Jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right.